Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a very, very exciting new stadium that can really help fighting Pokemon. It's a stadium. It's for fighting Pokemon. It allows you to do extra damage with those fighting Pokemon. It is not Fighting Stadium, although it's not a million miles away. It is Fighting Dojo, and of course our translation here comes from the lovely David Hochmann over at RappelmannTCG over on Facebook. So, Fighting Dojo then. What does it do? Well, it says that the attacks of fighting Pokemon other than Ultra Beasts do 10 more damage to the active, but if you have fewer prize cards remaining than your opponent, you do an extra 40 damage instead. So, to compare it now again to Fighting Stadium, if it is a situation where you're even or winning the game, it is half as good. But if you are losing the game, it is twice as good. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a phenomenal card, which is definitely going to see play, and is going to take some old Pokemon, Regirock, that were good but then ran away, and make them really, really good again. So let's take Regirock as an example. Now, I should be clear here, it is not just fighting Pokemon that can benefit from this. This stadium, as it said on the screen, increases damage from all Pokemon with basic fighting energy attached to them. So there are some crazy things you can do attaching basic fighting to non-fighting Pokemon. For ease of use in this video, we're going to focus on fighting Pokemon, but you can use any Pokemon as long as it's got basic fighting energy attached and it's not an Ultra Beast. Regirock here is a great card that I liked very much until the rotation. The first attack in Hand Stomp does 20 damage, but if you've got a tool attached, you do 40. So what you would do is you would make that tool choice band, and a 40 became 70. And then you would pop a Diancie Prism Star down, and that 70 became 90. And you would make sure the energy was a strong energy, and that 90 became 110. And you were doing the exact amount of damage you needed to one-hit KO a Zoroark GX. It was wonderful. One energy. Strong energy, Diancie Prism Star choice band, not the hardest combination ever. One-hit KO. It was great. And then strong energy rotated. And the problem is that with strong energy gone, then 20 damage with a choice band goes up to 70, Diancie goes up to 90, 110, you're not getting a KO there. Even with a Shrine of Punishment, you're not getting a KO, which means that this just went away. Now, of course, Shrine of Punishment isn't really relevant for the rest of the video because, well, you're using a stadium, and it is one stadium at a time. So, why does Regirock become so gosh darn good now? Well, let's imagine a stadium's in play. What you have is 20 damage plus 20 because you got a tool attached, 40. The tool is a choice band, 70. Diancie Prism Star comes out, 90. And now with this, you're up to 200. Now, 200 is not enough for Zoroark. And you can use Shrine of Punishment, but remember, you can't have both at once. But as long as you've got a Shrine of Punishment down at some point, you'll end up getting a KO. If you can get one damage counter down with Shrine of Punishment at one point during the game, and then get this combo going, that is a one-hit KO on a Zoroark. It's really, really nice. But remember, I'm talking here about doing an extra 10 damage. And doing an extra 10 damage is fine, but doing an extra 10 damage is not really what we're aiming for here. If you're behind on prizes, you're doing an extra 40 damage, and if we keep using Regirock as an example, now it becomes incredibly relevant. Because now it's 70 damage with a choice band, 90 damage with a Diancie Prism Star, 130 with the stadium, and now all of a sudden, you're doing 260 with weakness, which is not only enough to get a one-hit KO on Zoroark, but it is also enough to get a one-hit KO on Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX, which, if the Oceania International Championships this weekend is anything to go by, that's a pretty good card. So frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this is nice, and we like it, and it's good. Now, Regirock is not the only use for this. It is any fighting Pokemon, except for Ultra Beast. So why not Ultra Beast then? Now, the easy answer here is going Buzzwole, obviously. And don't get me wrong, right, this would be redonk with Buzzwole. And I'm referring to both the GX and the non-GX here. Both of these could take ridiculous advantage of this. Buzzwole GX, the main attack hits 190, as long as you've got a choice band. And then with Diancie, you're up to 210, which is great. But there's so many Pokemon, like Gardevoir, for instance, that you're just not getting a KO on. Well, here, with the Stadium, all of a sudden that 210 becomes 250, and that's an incredibly relevant number. Same thing with the non-GX, as it is Sledgehammer, 4 prizes remaining for your opponent, i.e. they've taken a GX KO, 120 damage, and that's just for 1 energy. Diancie puts you up to 140, Choice Band puts you up to 170, Stadium can put you up to 210, and then all of a sudden there's things like Lycanroc that should be out of KO range are all of a sudden very much in KO range, but you can't use it for this, and I don't think the reason's Buzzwole. Because remember, although we've not had a fighting type Pheromosa yet, we could have a fighting type Pheromosa. That is a fighting type Ultra Beast. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's because of Beast Energy. The problem is, I say problems, not a problem if you are an Ultra Beast. The problem is that Beast Energy adds 30 damage. And you can use it in conjunction with Diancie Prism Star. And you can use it in conjunction with Choice Band. With a Stadium as well, that's too much. When this card is designed, Pokemon know that you're going to use it with Diancie Prism Star. And they're okay with that. But using both Diancie Prism Star and Beast Energy and Fighting Dojo, all in one go, all in one attack, not a good idea. Makes certain Pokemon a bit too good. And I'm not just talking about Pokemon now. When you're designing games, you need to think about the future of the game. You need to future-proof it. And this is basically saying, even if they thought this would be okay with the Buzzwoles, it's not good enough. Because you never know what's going to come in the future, and cards could come a year down the line that because of this would be over the top broken. So let's give another example of a Pokemon that would really like this. I'm thinking Lycanroc. Now don't get me wrong, this is not for non-GX Pokemon. This is any non-Ultra Beast fighting Pokemon. Any of them. Any of them could take advantage of this. But I've got to think Lycanroc. Now the GX, yeah, the GX is going to love this, because Claw Slash is one of those annoying attacks that doesn't quite do enough. 110's a bit weak. Choice Band 140, Diancie 160, that's not even a Tapu Lele. Oh wait, now the Stadium's putting it up to 200, and that's a whole bunch of stuff. Something like Rayquaza, something like Blacephalon, they all go down here. And that's why this is so good. This literally just lets you hit the numbers in a way that you wouldn't be able to previously. But I'm thinking the non-GX here. You see, the non-GX actually also has Dangerous Rogue, but it's not as a GX attack, and it's slightly less powerful, as you would expect it to be. So what we have here, for 1 fighting, 1 colorless energy, 20 damage, plus 20 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And we're in a format at the moment where you don't have to have a full bench, but there's plenty of decks like Naganadel decks and Malamar decks, etc., that really do want a full bench. And now, all of a sudden, full bench 140. Now, 140's always been good. And then, of course, Choice Band 170, Tapu Lele, and Diancie 190, Buzzwole. But now with this Stadium, you're up to 230, and stuff like Gardevoir or Greninja's going down. And that's why this is such a ridiculous card. Because it gets you to the stage where you're KOing Pokemon that previously you just would not have been KOing. That's the value this is adding to decks here. And it is, make no mistake about it, a phenomenally good card. Yeah, it's not going to work for Ultra Beasts, and yeah, it's not going to work for non-fighting decks. And that's okay. Nobody's arguing that Diancie Prism Star isn't a great card because it only adds 20 damage for fighting Pokemon. No one was arguing that Strong Energy wasn't a great card because it only added 20 damage for fighting Pokemon. And this is one of those cards, and we've had a bunch of them lately, that really help you if you're behind on prizes. We've got Counter Catcher, which is just a gusting effect if you're behind on prizes. We got Counter Energy, which is 2 of any energy when it's attached with non-EX, non-GX, if you're behind on prizes. We've got Counter Gain, which reduces your attack cost by 1 colorless energy and you're behind on prizes. Of course, as much as counter game could be worked with the stadium, you would then have to give up choice band. Although, one thing that we need to mention here, this is against non-GXs as well as GXs. So something like a Dangerous Rogue, for instance, could only get up to 160 damage with a Diancie Prism Star if your opponent had a full bench. So something sitting there like my boy Mamoswine with 180 HP would like, come at me, bro. But now with the stadium, you can take it down. Clearly, this is a two-sided stadium, not like Reverse Valley, an actual two-sided stadium. But it's good sometimes and less good others. The extra 10 damage is good. Doing extra damage is always good. Plus Power was good and it did 10 extra damage. Crobat G was good and it did 10 extra damage, and that couldn't even let you hit for weakness. Nor could Plus Power a lot of the time, to be honest with you. Even Kingdra Prime saw a bunch of play because it let you do an extra 10 damage. But the thing is, if you can get the 40 damage here, this is unmitigatedly phenomenal. And I think that's the point. This is either a pretty good, fairly useful card, or an over-the-top great card. And if the worst case scenario is, it's pretty good, you get 10 extra damage, that's good. The best case scenario here is a better choice band that works against any Pokemon. And if Choice Band did an extra 10 damage and could be used against non-EXs, non-GXs, we would all be saying it's broken. So I'm giving it 5 Wassies, and it's only for fighting decks, and I don't really care. Because unless you really need to play Shrine of Punishment, which is, of course, one of the biggest contenders against this, but this does 40 in one go rather than 10. Although Shrine of Punishment does do to all of them. But then Shrine of Punishment should rotate out earlier than this. But Shrine of Punishment does 1 to all rather than 40 to the active. My point is very simple. Even if some decks are going to want Shrine of Punishment, other decks are going to want this. And if this is actually being picked over Shrine of Punishment, that makes it a pretty gosh darn good card. But I would very much like to know where you come down on this, ladies and gentlemen. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do please make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about things like Transformers and Keyforge and any other games that come to mind. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.